Yeah. Hello. Welcome to. Can you guys hear me on Zoom? We have a bunch of people in Berlin. This is super cool to be back today. I think the last meetup where we had people here is 2.5 years ago. That's super amazing. And there's also new faces, and we have a beer. Make sure you have a beer. If not, feel free to whenever grab one. It should be easygoing. And we have a Zoom call with other community members connected. Also, some of them will be presenting something today, and then we should be live on YouTube. I hope the sound and everything is coming through. Maxime will be also watching, and also me, the questions on YouTube and also on Element, and try to put them here into the room. If you guys feel like really connecting and have a word and comment on something, just come into the Zoom call and we'll have you here. The program we have so far is pretty big. I was chatting with a few people before, and then the VVV guys surprised me. 4 different presentations. Well, it's V4, so maybe that makes sense. And we have Rosie today. There's a feedback you guys have to mute. I think mute your Zooms here in the room. Rosie will be there. Sebis will be sharing something. Who else was there? Don J wanted to share something. Is Don J already here? I can't see him yet. So let's see. Nathan, is Nathan there? Yeah, I see Nathan. And altogether it was 8. So I think enough of words, and I would randomly pick an order, maybe simply, or is there? I already asked Sebis if he wants to start. Yeah, okay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Sebis, stage is yours.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. I'm going to be quick. This is to demonstrate a new nugget that I'm working on, and it's the next step of this quest to ease the workflow of working with REST APIs in V4. And you might remember from the previous meetup, there was already this demo of a plugin using a node factory that takes a Postman workspace and turns all the queries into nodes automatically. After that presentation, I had a conversation with Velcrom and Sebel, and we talked about a standard that is called Open API that I knew the word, but I didn't really know what it was about. Actually, it's a JSON description of a REST API that's open, and basically describes all the queries that an API has to offer. It describes all the parameters, all the error codes, the return codes, also all the data types that you might get from the API, and also all the authentication methods. So compared to this Postman only thing that we did earlier, it felt like a better choice to embrace this open standard. And then we were also talking about communicating with the directive headless CMS with Sebel, and he mentioned that when you create a directives instance, it automatically exposes this Open API description for you, and it builds it automatically from the data model that you have. So I gave it a spin with the node factory thing, and so far it's kind of working. I mean, there are still a few questions open, but I can make a small demonstration right now. Can you guys see my screen? Yes, no?
Time travel background.
Sorry?
Time travel background.
Yeah. I mean, that reminds me of childhood. Yeah, so the thing is, it kind of works like the runway ML thing. So next to your patch, you would have to create an open API folder in which you create this open API text file. And you just put a bunch of stuff here. You put the name of the project that you're working on. That's an arbitrary thing. It's just for you to identify the project later in the Node browser. Then you have to paste the URL at which you get this JSON spec. And to show it, I have here it in the browser. You see, it's just a regular JSON document. I'm not going to go through the details, but that's the open API spec. And then also, if you're using an API token to do authentication, you just put it there. And with that file, when you reference the VL.OpenAPI nuggets, if you go to the Node browser, you have this category called local directors that matches what we have in the config file here. And if we go to local directors, we get all those nodes generated automatically. And yeah, you might maybe want to see the directors instance. It's a very simple dummy thing I did for testing. So we have a color data type, well, color collection rather, that just has two properties, name and color. Yeah, nothing fancy. But if I go now to the local directors thing and I look for color, I have all those queries generated automatically. I can create a new color item in the CMS. I can delete an item, blah, blah, blah. And we're just going to try to see read item colors. We also pull the description for the nodes and pins, by the way, from the description. If I create this one, it says list the color item, fine. So I can just execute the query, show the raw output. And I hope it'll work. Yes, it is. So we just get a JSON response from the server that lists our colors. So we have blue, what do we have? Green, etc. And if we look at the CMS, we have blue, green, and red. So basically, this is just what it does for now. There are still a few things open, like what do we do with this JSON output? Because, okay, you have those queries, but you still have to patch your own parser to actually do something with the results, which is something that could be automated, because as I was mentioning, the open API description also exposes the data structure. So we could like instantiate create some classes at runtime and try to automatically parse the data and deserialize it. And another open question, I'm not really sure how to handle, is for authentication, because right now the plugin just covers authentication if you have like an API token in the query. Under the hood, it takes the token and puts it in all the queries. But if you do authentication with headers, then that wouldn't work, or any other authentication method. We would need probably, I guess, an editor extension to be able to choose if you have multiple ones, etc. So those are the two things I'm not yet sure how to handle. And basically that's it. Just get all those nodes, and the queries work. But right now, that's all I have. Not really sure what to do with the outputs. So that's it for me.
Cool. And when you change your data model online or in the CMS, when on a trigger you basically with the I haven't tried that, to be honest, because I think the factory would only retrigger if you edit the text file. Okay. So you would have to restart v4 if you changed the data model. But indeed, there could be, I don't know, maybe something with an editor extension as well, where you can query the description again, and then I don't know what would happen. Probably red nodes if something changes. Yeah, that's the current state. I'm really curious about what to do with this output, really, because there are some nasty things, like with directors, you can also say which fields you want to see in the output. So if I only want to see the name field and rerun the query, now I only see the names, so which makes the output kind of unpredictable. And so how would you generate types out of that? That's where I'm blocking, basically.
And the read item color, the name of the node, that's given by
directors in that case, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's how they generate their Open API spec. And I guess for each collection that you create, you have a read items, blah blah. And if we go in colors again, yeah, I think for all collections you would get update single item, read items plural, delete, create. For all collections that you have, you would have such a thing. Frankly, I haven't tried too much interaction with the CMS. Like I haven't really tried to create new items on the fly because I lack some time, and I just wanted to focus on getting the nodes created and making sure the queries were correctly executed. And yeah, I guess now can try some more other scenarios, and also testing that with not something else than directives. Actually, like if someone creates a REST API and they also generate somehow this Open API spec, testing the factory against that, see how it behaves. Because so far I've only been able to test it with directives. But basically that's it. That saves some time, so you don't have to implement the queries yourself.
Questions, Maxime, in the chat?
Where is the read items colors name? Where does the node name come from?
It comes from the JSON, actually, from this JSON thing. So I think if we go in paths, we should find it. Read item/colors. So item/colors. The get is called read items color. That's the name of the operation, and then just doing some string cleaning to have a capital at the beginning. But that's where it comes from. And that's generated by directives, basically.
It's just for this one specific API.
Yeah.
It's just
they expose these functions.
Yeah.
So to wrap this for newbies, it would be something like when you're dealing with a headless content management system to store your data, and you create a data structure here, and it supports Open API as a standard, then with that contribution, if you reference that in your patch, you get automatically generated all the nodes you need in order to make use or retrieve the data, update the data, delete the data online, without having to remodel the data again on the VV side of things, or without creating all the, I don't know, HTTP GET REST API stuff on your own.
And it doesn't only work with like headless CMS. I mean, if you have like a, I don't know, an API, a weather API, for instance, to get weather forecast and stuff like that, as soon as they have an Open API description available somewhere, you just give it to the factory and it does the rest. So it works for any API that supports this standard.
So can you show what's been generated inside of the node? Is that, I don't know how the node factory works, but
it's right now it's just some C#. We can have a look if you want. Source, no, not this one.
So the difference between all the nodes is just a query string. Is that true?
Yes.
the post
And all the nodes basically, here you see they give the summary, they give the description, and they give the parameters, like all the parameters that are in the queries. And basically I'm just iterating over those and creating a bin for each of those. Then I'm reading the value, building a query and executing it.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, then it has also lots of things with the components. You can see all the authentication methods. You can see the default responses. So that is not taken into account yet, because here you just get a raw string, but you don't get like the status if it's like a 404 forbidden or 200 okay, whatever. I mean, I don't have those. I also don't have like a Boolean that says in progress or finished. So it's like still very rough, and I wouldn't use it in a project now because it lacks all of those things. But I think the basis is there, and now it's just about making it pretty. And then of course also figure out what to do with this output. Like, do we try to parse it or not? Or do we just give that and we let the user do the rest? But you still have to do like create the records and do the XPath get value, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of tedious. So I was hoping to automate this as well, but I haven't tried yet.
Write your own definition for somebody else's API?
What's sorry, I didn't hear that.
Can one write their own definition for someone else's API using Open API?
You mean creating this specification, this documentation, this Open API spec yourself?
Yeah, is that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not a web developer, but as far as I understood, there is this thing called Swagger that allows to generate such, I mean, the idea I think is not that you write this JSON yourself. The idea is that I think you just code your API and probably with attributes or things like that, then you can automatically generate this thing. I think the idea is that it's automatically generated. You wouldn't write this yourself. But I was hoping to see Domjay here because I know he's doing quite some web dev, and I thought maybe, or maybe if someone else does web development, maybe they can tell us how it works. But I think it's automatically generated.
Okay.
There is a
That's
question
it.
on the
On the list?
Zoom chat. Maybe Sven, you can directly check this out.
Yes. Can you save the nodes in case that the API is offline next time you open v4? Good question. Well, I would say if the source is offline, then it doesn't make sense to have the nodes. That's like the easy answer. But then you would get red nodes everywhere. I don't know. That's a question for the devs, actually, because the nodes are instantiated when v4 starts, as I understood. But is there a way to make this persistent somehow? Or maybe instead of retrieving the Open API thing with a URL, there could be another version to like retrieve it from a text file, but then it's not that dynamic. So yeah,
just about caching the JSON.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Because that's the source of truth here.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, if the source is offline, then maybe it doesn't make sense to make the nodes in the first place.
But Andres wants it that way, so it's what he wants.
Then we have to do it. But yeah, that's just an early version, and catch JSON is a good alternative. Yeah.
So I didn't start the timer. I forgot to start the timer, but I think we're good. The idea is because we have so many things planned.
Sure.
Cap everyone at 10 minutes. I think it was great. Thank you so much, Sven.
Thanks. And if anyone is interested or has like ideas about this plugin, please don't hesitate to spam the forums because I'm really eager for like what people think of how this should work, and people more familiar with web dev maybe. So don't hesitate to share your thoughts on this, and thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. I think next we need some pixels. We need to see some pixels. Anton, can you provide some for us?
Will do.
But I start the timer now. Anton has 2 topics, so he gets 20 minutes max.
Max.
Yeah. Everyone says, "Oh, I will be quick," and then going on for 10 minutes for the first topic.
Okay. I will talk about user interfaces, about building user interfaces. We have now like 2 libraries, Elementor and our own library, widget library, and for example, this. Hello browser is made with our own widget library, and everybody is using Elementor. So, and we're searching for even more libraries. and Elias came across one thing which called imgui, and then we remembered that already MicroD made years ago in wrapper for beta for imgui, and now we decided, okay, let's try it for Gamma. So it's still research, so the sources are public, so everybody can try, but do it on your own risk, because the patches will be broken. Like every day we try things, we push things, and I have to rebuild all the patches. So do it on your own risk. But I will show, like we're approaching some, I would say, more or less stable thing where we think, okay, this is the way how it's easy and nice to patch. So I will show you something. This is just the example from the web browser. And here I will turn on the imgui. And then
Now you're back.
it's back. Now it's back. Okay. So I will add another pin for a group. Then I want to add some user interface for that, just for like tweaking some things here. I will add a window. From imgui, and it doesn't work. Why? Because it's a widget. This is layer. Let's see. Imgui is here. Okay, so I can go from imgui to skier, and I have a window on top of my skier. Let's add some color edit widget. That's it in the window. What can it do? Colors. Oh, wow. So I have a full-blown color selector, and it's just one widget, like color edit. Let's choose some color. Okay, it's now red. Where can I get it? Behavioral subject. Okay, hold latest. Like this. And now if okay, so I have my color. Let's use it for the stroke. So now all my strokes are red. And I can even change to another color. Like this, easy. Okay, so then I will add something else. I want to have a slider. I can choose vector 4. I will just take a float. And I want to cons them, my two widgets. And I want to arrange them in a column. I go to my widget, and it will be the width. I got a name for that. Again, I will just go to get a value. For now, it's 0. I have my screen is too small. Like, yeah, like I'm sorry. Oh, you had to say it earlier. Like more space. Yeah, but I will use it for the. I will use this value again for the stroke, so I can set the width of the stroke. Is it super thick? No. Like this. And then we can have another window. this, I will const them again. Now I const 2 windows. And I fold them into one widget. This is widget. And I have to give a name for my another window, like let's say in the settings. So I have another window. And then Ingui has a like super easy thing which is called docking. Enable, and then I can do like so I have
We use them for
The whole thing.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
yeah, talking about Ingui, we thought okay, inspector will be nice. And then let's say inspector sounds like let's look for Ingui, and we have their widgets for where is this object editor? What's that? The object output widget. Let's look at it. Search. Create. This. I have to zoom in, right? And now that's right. Oh, all of my settings from here are already there automatically. With all the drop down. And if I change something, I can get the state. And this is ADSR setting split. As because it's object. So let's say the attack time. 5 seconds. Okay. We get it here. And we can use it. And we have a scroll, we have drop down. And we have, if we go back to help browser and we search for Ingui, we're already, now we do good with documentation, so we already have all the progress bar. Okay, this is how to progress bar. Or we have like how to style, I don't know, how to style a tab. So Ingui has already tabs, and you can change how they look like. For example, you can change rounding. It's in pixels, so say like 5. I don't know. Can you see like the tabs are rounded? We can change the colors. So, easy. By the way, the crazy thing was like menu. This is how to build a menu. Like you can have a menu, but then there was so crazy thing that we're building menu, and then, for example, we want to add plot to a menu. What? How is it possible? I don't know if I should it here. Let's here, but yeah. Let's see a second. Run down. I have a plot in a menu.
We're on time.
So
Are the settings automatically stored, or do you need to patch save to file and load?
yeah, now wait. I have a bit more, right? Because I had a question. So branch we can save save settings to some file, my layout, some file. I can save it like that. So this is my Windows, right? Okay. My layout is like that. But then I can also load the thing like this. And if I move my piece somewhere like this, I can still say, okay, load back. More questions?
Any questions from the online?
I will. Yeah, but
You can't build it using it, for example, already. But we have more backend. You need to build it on your own and follow the briefing.
oh, by the way, one more thing. One more
But
thing.
like Anton said, it breaks really every backend day.
Okay.
Really, so
Yeah.
I don't build that.
So does this replace Elementor?
But
Yeah, this is one.
but
Yeah.
you can't. It's nearly impossible to make your own widgets, to do custom drawing for the widgets. So you can style them, and the style options are like a lot. But I will show you something. For example, this is the audio settings UI, which I made with our own widgets, right? I will. So this is. And now, just for fun, I thought, okay, I will do this in GUI, the same thing. And now it's switched already. Yeah, no, but it should be in GUI already. Yeah, it was. So this is in GUI. For example, you can't customize these triangles. This is drop down, have this triangle. That's it. It can't be other items. But the rest, I would say, I made it pretty similar to, like, this is the original thing, and this is in GUI. So it's pretty close. You can file it like really close to.
So it means whenever we have some, we're creating a project, fancy stuff, and then whenever we need sort of a settings overlay-ish, customization, admin interface-ish, whatever.
Click, 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 click.
Click, 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 click. That's the way.
Yeah.
But it's not meant for creating a UI, let's say, special wishes from the client bit more. It's part of the fancy stuff inside of it.
That's also what the web page, the original project claims in the first sentence. We are a UI to build debugging tools.
But
and not for anything else.
There's a but.
there is a but, because we have scale widget in GUI, and you can render, you can do your skier whatever scene. And it will be your widget. So
I got it.
Or you can just convince the client that this is
The new stuff. Impossible. But okay.
I have a question.
Rosie, please.
Yes. So that's in the first example where you showed the ski animation in the background, did the interaction on the window influence the mouse interaction of the, the thing that we solve with Elementor with this any hovered or any editing?
if
While you're editing a value in the editor, does it still react on the background?
yeah, but I guess it can be cached. And if because I can window if window is hovered, and if window is hovered, then I can disable mouse for the background. Yeah.
Okay, so that would be similar to Elementor.
Probably.
Thank you.
I patch with our own widgets, so I don't use Elementor. It's okay. I'm wrong person to ask.
I have a question as well. Can you access, can you influence the logic and the behavior of the widgets? Like for instance, in Elementor, there is this thing, because everything is patched and everything, you can access any property of a widget. So if you suddenly you want to modify a slider with the mouse wheel, you can patch this. But would such a thing be possible with EMGUI, or is it just not the purpose?
What do you mean with the slider and with the wheel? What do you mean?
Like, well, in Elementor, you can programmatically retrieve the value of the widget and override it from the outside. So you can totally patch a component that when the widget is hovered and you scroll with the mouse, you can change the value of the slider, for instance. Would such a thing be possible with EMGUI or not? Like, can we access properties of the widget themselves and override them from outside? I don't know if
I would say yes.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool. So you could build like a component system that kind of modifies the behavior of the widget, for instance.
It's not modifying the behavior, but getting the state, like getting the mouse wheel and change the state of the widget. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
I'm not sure. I think he's asking for something else.
He's asking if you can modify the
behavior.
The behavior, like, yeah, no, because it's given. But with this example, with the scroll wheel, you can change the.
Okay. Okay,
So
thanks.
You can probably add behavior, but you can't
exactly.
remove the existing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was the question. Thanks.
Was that topic 1?
Yeah. It's
So you should head to topic 2.
The 2 is super fast.
Okay.
It's super fast. I mean, help browser, and I type here called play Lottie animations.
So cool.
Finally.
That's it. I mean, if I will.
So you have to explain.
I will. So first, I will just explain it in this way. So I add a camera here, and I will like add a zoom, minimum zoom, and then I will do like this, right? So I guess it explains a bit already what the thing is about. So it's vector animation. Then I can change. I can see pretty well. So I will zoom out, and then I can play turn on like this. Or I can take another thing, which is this thing, play. And these files are pretty small. So what is Lottie? Lottie is a file format that you can export After Effects animations into JSON, and you can play this JSON on on all the platforms, and of course on vvvv as well. And when I saw it the first time, I thought I had a feeling like Flash, because I remember when I had a modem at home, and if something moves on the screen, it means that you downloaded ages like for the GIF animation. Then I saw like one thing which was moving and moving, some lines and some circles. It was moving and moving on my screen. And I thought it can't be that I downloaded already. And that's how I discovered Flash. It was like vector. And then with when I saw Lottie for the first time, it was the same. Because like the animations are kilobyte big size. So they're very small and super nice. So the motion designers do After Effects export the JSON, there's plugin for After Effects. You click and you get a JSON file, and this JSON file you can play natively everywhere. So it's how should I say? So it's rendered with a native 2D engine on the client. So there is no pixels.
Super cool.
Thank you for this one.
Thank you.
I remember we've been like talking about this on the chat like
Yeah.
years ago, and now it's there.
Yeah. And unfortunately, this is still we're waiting for like Steer Sharp, and we're waiting for the next release. So they have Scotty already, but in a previews, and we are waiting already since, I would say we're waiting since one month. But we hope that soon they will update this thing here, and then we will update Skier in vvvv.
Cool.
So who is still here? Who fell asleep? We need
Rosie, maybe?
maybe Rosie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Please, Rosie.
Nice to see you all. Let me take you on a travel, on a journey to the beautiful country of Armenia. Therefore, I'm asking for permission to share my screen. Screen share. I'm asking the permission to. So, the beautiful country of Armenia is situated between Turkey, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Iran. Who has ever been there?
I've been to talk.
Anybody? Nobody. Okay. Yeah, you might not have expected it, but it's a hub for creative technologies. And they have a thing there called TUMO Center for Creative Technologies. And there's also a TUMO Center in Berlin. There's also one in Paris, one in Moscow, one in Tirana. Okay, somebody else has their mic on. Thank you. Okay. What is TUMO Center? It's an addition to the schooling system there. So all the teenagers have free access to courses concerning creative technologies. And they really want to make it in a way that if also in the villages, they have at least a container lecture room that they can teach creative technologies there. And I was invited to teach vvvv there for teenagers in 4 different cities in Armenia, in the 4 biggest cities. So let's say 3 of them are in Armenia, and the 4th one is in Bergkarabakh or Artsakh, which is a disputed region between Azerbaijan and Armenia. And they also have a TUMO center there. So, and the teenagers, they go to school every day until 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then they join their courses. And this is then the place where they can learn animation, they can learn music, they can learn software development, game development. And also when they finished some of the basic courses, like programming 1, 2, and 3, or graphic design, motion design, then they can sign up for special learning labs that are conducted by people that are coming to TUMO from other countries, like me. So I came there and say, okay, I know vvvv. I know you know a bit of programming, you know a bit of how design works, like color theory and stuff. So let's combine that and let's learn vvvv together. And so I was there for, I think, in some 2.5 months. Why am I telling you these stories? First, because I had amazing students, and second, because maybe one or the other wants to go there and teach as well. So while I was living there, especially in the capital, I was sharing a flat with other creative technology people from different countries who were teaching there. And also I let my students know that today I will present some of the projects here in the community meeting, because of course I tried to get them all hyped to stick with me. And so I decided to shortly show you one final project per city that I taught. How did the course look like? In each city, I had 10 days with my students. Every day was 4 hours of vvvv. So it must be crazy for them also, because they have school all day, and then they have in the beginning 4 hours of math. Also, they didn't understand English, so we had a translator into Armenian at the same time. So it was quite tough and quite dense, but we made it in a way that for 7 days we were learning things together, like covering Arduino, 3D, Elementor, text animations, some generative stuff, and then they had 3 days to do their own project. Okay, so that was the part where I finished explaining, and now I show you 4 projects that I selected. So keep in mind, they are like 15 years old on average. They just discovered it, and yeah, let's see what they did with it. So first of all, we got here two girls from Yerevan, from the capital, made this animation, this atom animation, where you with Elementor can decide how many atoms you want to show. How many protons, how many neurons, and they used also the post effect from Stride. So that was one. Sorry, it's a bit slow now, but I will close each patch after I showed it. So I'm closing this. So yeah, this is what they did in 3 days when they were able to do their own projects. It's cool, I think. I close this. Then the next one is a game. That was my group from Bergkarabach. And I have to say, we didn't do animations or text or how to count clicks and all of this. They figured it out by themselves. Oh no, it's super slow. But they wanted to remodel a game where you have to click very fast and then create new lines. So that were three guys in Stepanakert who did this one. Then close. And they were very proud of the patch. Ah no, I closed the wrong one. Anyways, doesn't matter that much. I think I'm running out of time anyways. So the last one, and it's like a crazy patch, but also the outcome is crazy. That's a solar system.
Wow.
Uh-huh. So So for me as a VVV teacher, I think solar system is one of the standard things that we do to learn about transformations. And I think in each city, there was a group who decided, no, we don't only want the moon and the earth, we want to have the whole solar system. I think this one is my top. They also connected it to an Arduino, and with a potty, you could make the stars shine and not shine. So, and also the whole asteroids, how they did it with the, I don't know, they figured it out by themselves how to do the from polar, and they then make random and only make a strip of that. So yeah, also very happy for that group. Yeah.
So how do we get to know these people?
So in some, there must be now 60 VVV nerds in Armenia who are around 15, 16 years old. I told them all to come to Node. Unfortunately, it was a bit short notice for today to let them join here, but they will all be informed about the YouTube channel of this. And yeah, one of you should go there and teach the next VVV course.
Yeah.
There's a short video that Tumo made for about the course. The thing that you see here is a record player that they connected with a joystick for the Arduino, so that it would mix the music in the 4 different corners of the screen. That was also a project in Yerevan. Do you hear sound from the video? Yeah. All comes back to there's math, there's art, and there's nature. and we can connect this and learn about all of them. We can learn about math by using nature and art. We can learn about nature by using art and math. And VV is a tool for that, I think.
Ծրագիրը կարող է կիրառվել տարբեր խաղերի մեջ։ Այս խաղի միտքը այն է, որ երբ մաուսը կպնում է շրջանին, ինքը անհետանում է եւ այն ինչ-որ անիմացիով, սա վերջնական տեսք չի, հետագայում կանիմացնենք։
It's really in between being a programming language and being something that like a software for so many different things. Like it's a 3D animation software, it's an audio software, it's also like, can be a Photoshop if it wants, it can be a way to control a self-driving car. So it opens a lot of possibilities. I was super amazed how much is possible here. I think if I was a teenager and would have had a tumor, it would be so amazing. I'm so happy for the students here that they have.
Wow.
Oh, thank you very much. I hope one or the other wants to. Yeah.
Is this video online?
Yes.
Can you send us a link?
Sure.
Want to promote this, of course. It's great.
Nice. I like it. And please, to all you guys in Berlin, as I said, there is a Tumor Center in Berlin. I didn't check it out at all, but if you come across it, please let me know how it feels, how it is, what they're doing there.
I actually saw a poster on the subway.
So it exists.
So, but I don't know where it is here. I just saw this.
Yeah,
Right?
we'll send you that as well.
Super cool. So how can we top this?
We have Nathan, Dottore, and
But Dottore is not here.
Dottore, I don't
Wolf.
Yeah.
Wolf.
Maybe some completely overwhelming stuff after this. It's just a simple tool. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, I try to share my screen. Okay, so I want to start with a little introduction. It's like I actually looked it up since Node 15. I'm always talking about the connection between Rhino 3D and V4, and there were some different versions, some different tools, and but I want to firstly show a Rhino 3D. You see it in front of me, and it's like a 3D editor. It's but it's meant also for production. So it's not like you couldn't compare to 3ds Max or Cinema. This wouldn't apply really good to it. You would more or less choose like Fusion 360 or AutoCAD. It's more in this area. So there was always the question when I developed the first version, why should I use Rhino? I can do all this 3D stuff in V4. So I wanted to just start to show why I wouldn't do this stuff in V4, this part of it. So you see here just a simple shape, for example, and what I mostly do is like developing Grasshopper plugins. Grasshopper is like a V4 on top on Rhino to have parametric modeling capabilities in Rhino. So just shortly, this is Grasshopper. You have nodes like in V4, but it's going from left to right, not top down. So what I can do with Rhino, what's the focus for it? It's like this is like a short tool, like I said, what I developed to produce this shape I just showed you. So this is just like a simple shape, but with Grasshopper, this with the tool I developed, this becomes something you can produce that is really a physical object at the end. So you see here some things, some material layers and so on. You can do some settings here to choose these material settings and so on. And after that, if I hit bake, so I really get the 3D objects, because now I can't select them. Okay, it takes a bit, it's quite huge. So the outcome of this would be, if I can move it, something like this. So I will, and you see a lot of lines. So these lines are used for milling, and it's like this line is used for the milling head with that angle, and this line is another angle and another milling head. So this is what I would do in Rhino. So I design objects that I can really build. So for example, also 3D printing or whatever. This is the purpose of this tool. It's not like nice shiny 3D models. The purpose is more or less, you can do this as well, but the purpose is production. So this would be like an architect or people designing exhibits or so on would work with Rhino. And for me, I had this year a project again where I needed the data from the guys designing this stuff, because in that part it wasn't my task. And I needed these models and these files in V4, and it was always a way through other file formats to get into V4. And to simplify this and to finalize this more or less in a new set, I redeveloped this tool, this Rhino reader, and it's already available as a nugget, but please wait a bit, because this, the version there is not the latest, and I need to check some things. But here you see like a simple scene. Here's just a plane, and now I have like, this is my Rhino file, and because I won't load this huge one now, and I have like this is my Rhino reader. I just give my file name, and I can already see, okay, there are 15 objects in this. I have layer names because the structure in Rhino is using layers. You can compare to like Photoshop does it, but you can also on every layer there can be every kind of object. So it's just a structure where I want to put my geometry, but it's not like a layer can hold only one type of geometry or something like this. Just to mention this, because this is always a difference in the 3D programs. So you here see already all the layers I have in my file. Here you see like this surface, for example, is a sublayer of geometry. This double dash is standing for this. So and now I have my objects like a point 3D starting from there, and now I get my point 3D as still the Rhino type. I have like the layer name of it as a spread directly to it, and I have diffuse color and PBR. And okay, for a point this makes no sense, but it's still right now there. And then I have some conversion from these point 3Ds to really have it like, in this case, I just have this sphere, for example. And to really work with those files, these layers are really quite important, because it could be like I have a huge file and I just want the layer that is targeted for me, but I can just open the file again and again. So I have this filter layer thing. Here you see it's I have the layer name target, and now this one is in my file, and now I have just this target point on my target layer. I can use the filter also the other way around. I can just say, okay, I don't want exactly that layer, but all the others. So you see, okay, now I have all the points in the file. I know their layers, so it's coming out here, but now I have exactly all the objects that are not on target. Okay, these are the points, but this is not so interesting. So let's start with the next step. Would be also in Rhino. It's like points, curves, surfaces, B-wraps. So I have here my my curve, So you see now, this is just a simple line. It shouldn't be, because I had a I had a real curve. So you see, from curves has this option of the resolution, because I have to convert it like in a format that's possible in strides. So if I change the resolution to a higher value, you can see this is the curve I had in this file. So I can also influence this quite a bit. Okay, these are the curves. So next step would be also the B-reps that are the real shapes. Could be a surface, could be something like this, as you see. Well, so okay, this is just a B-rep. And the funny thing about the B-rep is also in B-reps and so on, these are nerve surfaces, so they are much more complex in shape than a mesh, but not in describing them, because they are more or less mathematical surfaces that are used there. So the nice thing about also this B-reps, they have so-called isocurves, and I can show them as well. And I did this with another shape. You can see it here. Here's another shape. So you see these isocurves. In this case, they are just the border. But here, if I go to my isocurve setting, you also have this resolution. And you see, these are my isocurves. I can change the resolution. I didn't do it right now, but it could be also possible to generate the mesh yourself with these isocurves, for example, because you can get all the data you need for this. But this is just a simple shape. It's also for sure working with this one. There you see a bit better how these isocurves work, and I just scale them a bit up, because then otherwise they would overlay. There you can also see like these isocurves that can give you quite interesting information about the model that you could use. So for sure there are meshes as well. Well, okay, so meshes we have as well. So this is the same shape in different kinds of geometry formats. So here we have the mesh, and
Do you hear the beep, Wolf?
I'm sorry?
You hear the beeper?
Beeper, okay, just a second. This
Oh, we have 10 minutes already.
This is a sub D, and sub D is even more complex shape, but also a sub D to read. The materials are coming out of it, and some other stuff you can use. And this is a quite easy way to open Rhino files in VL. And I'm currently also using Rhino Insight to have a live connection, and this is working as well. But there's no time anymore. But also the live connection that maybe people saw from Rhino is also possible. I also started this, but I wanted to have first the conversions and then use this with the files. But then also you can do this way also back to Rhino. Tebjan is also developing some stuff and is more or less working on the more on the saving to Rhino part. But
So from
thank you.
From Fuse to Rhino pipeline would be super interesting, I guess.
Which one? I'm sorry, I didn't understand. It's always the first word is always silent.
David said from Fuse to Rhino would be interesting, I guess. He said.
From Fuse to Rhino, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that something you and Tebjan are working on? Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Is that what Tebjan or you are working on?
Tebjan is no, I'm not totally sure. That was by accident that we discovered that we are working on similar things. And I know he's working on saving to Rhinos, generated stuff, but I'm not sure if it has to do something with Fuse. I'm not sure about this. But yeah, would be also quite interesting. Yeah.
Cool.
There's a lot of possible stuff, and yeah, also with a live connection. So if you have a license of Rhino, you can use this live connection. Then you could build Rhino completely in VL, but it wouldn't make sense. But you could.
Well, you can't.
Yeah. So yeah.
I have one little question. Can you zoom in into the pen?
To where?
That was the question. No,
Okay.
can maybe move over to the left. I mean, it looks like there's always two.
Where do you want to go? I don't.
Yeah, that was the question. No, so there's curves and from curves. So the information flowing from curves to from curves is the interesting stuff. Like, okay, there's the actual curve, all the data of the curves are in there, and the other node is then sampling the curves, right?
Yeah, more or less. Actually, you have quite a few levels in Rhino objects, going from the Rhino object to geometry, then to geometry base and curve. So you have here like the splitting of like the spread, the curve, and some of the attributes of the object. Because afterwards, in the curve itself, there is not so much information like I have before. But you could, on the other hand, do stuff with the curve between this.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's why I chose this way to go from here to here. And also I have here, for example, I have two ISO curves, and I can use this from curves again. And
so you have B reps, and then from B reps, this is again sampling somehow or turning into some.
Yeah, because the idea is totally that you could do something with a Rhino object, because I have some functions I can do with a free library I'm using to read files, but yeah, I could then with like I said, this Rhino Insight type where I have to install Rhino and have it on my PC as well, and the license. I could do even more with a brep in between, and yeah, I want to use those parts also in the other library, because yeah, it would make sense for me, at least.
Amazing stuff.
Very nice.
So if anyone is interested in this and has some ideas, feel free. I will yeah, share it in the next days.
Cool. Super cool. We have just decided that we're going to have a break here. We need some fresh air. So everyone, please stay where you are. Don't move. We will be back in 10 minutes sharp.
10 minutes.
I have another time of 10 minutes, and then we're yeah.
Yeah,
Just like that.
yeah.
Be right back. Hello. Can anybody hear me from the online? Can the online hear us?
Zoom.
Zoom, are you here? Shall we just?
Yes, all good.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a couple more demonstrations. I give myself the timer. I will do the next presentation. So we have the thing coming up, which is the big update of VVvv, where we are switching the .NET framework that we are basing on. This might not mean anything to people who are not familiar with what that means. It's a very technical thing, but we are changing pretty much the basis while we are running. And one of the things this brings is that it allows us to build executables for other platforms. And here is a very little demo of this, if it works. It's still very shaky, so things might go wrong here. But I'm starting a project from scratch. What I want to do is I have a Raspberry Pi here.
It's the camera on top of the screen.
Yeah, I can't move this. A Raspberry Pi, you know, this little computer, right? This little Linux computer. And challenge is, can I create a little patch here that runs on the Raspberry and plays a sound file? That's the challenge. Now, one big problem with this whole cross-platform thing is that while the core library rather easily runs across platform, all the peripheral libraries do not by default. So we can't play any video, we can't do any windowing at the moment yet. Like we are only running console applications for stuff, right? Obviously, this is a thing that we have to do one after another to get also the libraries working across platforms. So I want to play an audio file, but our great audio library doesn't work. So what I have to do is I found another library that is an audio library that is playing cross-platform, and that's called I always forget its name, Netcore Audio. It's called. Here it is. Very simple library that just plays audio files cross-platform. So the way this works is it has a player, which I can create. I assign that to create, so that I only create it once, and then I have a condition under which I will play a file. Just using the toString path here. So that should already be it. I'm going to save this in a nice folder. Give this same name. So if I choose an audio file now, I'm going to copy the famous demo VAV, to put it here next to my VL file, using it, and I press bang. I should hear something, which I don't. Maybe. No. No, this is audio configuration thing. Why do I hear myself?
Because you output from your
So can I stop Zoom from outputting?
Wait,
Can I?
You can switch the audio up.
Yeah. How do I stop Zoom from making sound? Go to this. Maybe. No, I turned everything off now. But then I don't hear the sound.
but don't you want to relate with the other side?
Yeah. Then yeah, I'm not time with taking it. So the other option here is to set the volume. I'm not sure, maybe I have to do this. And this is taking a bite. To bite. And let's see this. I wanna also only do this on the when the value is changed. So when this program will be running on a remote device, I will also need a way to communicate with the program. And for this, I'm using a rabbit control. As you know, it's a very simple, convenient library to remote control parameters via that interface. So using a rabbit server here that I can use a bang parameter with. The bang parameter should trigger this condition to play, and then I'm going to use a float parameter to change the volume. Goes from 0 to 1, from 0 to 255 the byte, and this only when the value changes. This should be the program that could run ideally there. So I'm just going to export this, and we have this updated export dialog where I can choose. This is not going to be a Windows application, but a console application. And the target operating system is not Windows, but any. And then I export this.
Some keep alive thing?
Yes. Good point. With console applications, if I do nothing about it, then they would just run for one frame and stop. So there is this node. But let me wait for the export to finish. First export takes a bit longer, but I hope it will run through. You can look at the details. It's doing a lot of crazy things. And it built successfully, thank you. So I just have to add a node that's called keep app alive. Save that, export again. Since we are exporting to any OS, we should get an executable for Windows and another one for Linux Arcus. We haven't tested on OS X at all, but there shouldn't be any reason for it not to also be there.
Famous libraries.
I set the library claims to run. So the export finished. I'm first testing on Windows, just to see if something is working. We will not hear it again on Windows, but we should see the Rabbit server being running. So running the Rabbit interface on local host, just to confirm, hopefully. Interesting, we don't see the other parameter. That's a new one. Does it change if I reload? No. No. There is no reason for this to be like that.
Maybe the parameters have to have different names.
No.
Like the name maybe?
I just did it exactly like that. Anyway, so is it running twice?
No, it's running on Gamma.
Thank you very much. So I'm stopping. Gamma here, and I'm restarting the demo. Okay. Going to localhost now. We see both. We don't hear anything, but okay. Let's assume this is happening. And the demo is over. So what's the idea here? I have the Raspberry here as a. I mounted it, no? And I just put a folder there where I can copy this thing. Call it cross-stem. Now, the one interesting thing also here is that I can now copy everything over there, but that's a bit cumbersome if you have to do this all the time. So we thought about this, that you can add post-build steps. And this is nothing that we came up with. It's just a Microsoft convention that you can use MS Build to write post-build tasks. No? And this task that I just put in this file is just syncing files from one place to another. And here I have to change the name to cross demo. So my local folder is called cross demo, and also the one on the Raspberry is called cross demo. So now this build task is run once I hit export.
Yeah, after.
The MS Build is a quite complex system that allows you to configure basically anything. So let's wait and hope that the build task, a post-build task, is then executing, which would copy automatically the files into this directory. Says copying files, and the files appear here. So now every time you make a modification in the patch, you hit save, export, you wait 20 seconds, and the files are copied over. The one thing I always forget is that I also have to copy the sound file. Right?
You should add it to the build file.
Yeah, essentially, you would do this much smarter than me. In the end, now I just copy it manually to the same folder on the Raspberry, right? So it is here now, and then I just SSH into the Raspberry, which I already did here, and I should find a directory called cross demo, and in there I should be able to just run .NET crossdemo.dll. This should start up the Rabbit server. Just taking a few seconds. Already too long. That's too long already. What is this? Oh, weird. But I think I know the IP is 168.2.94. Connect. This is where we are, and playing this has my headphones connected. Yes, it's playing. I'm not sure if you hear this there. Here I have the sound, the volume. Do we get any confirmation? Does anyone hear this?
No, I can hear it.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Yeah.
I can't.
That's the demo. Yeah, you see, it's very early days, but we have something we're going for.
Big stuff.
Dan?
Super cool.
Cool.
Seems so little,
Yeah.
but it's actually big.
If this is a task that so often asked from students at our theory school, how to trigger a sound file somewhere remotely. Yeah.
And I think the libraries, all the core libraries and networking libraries, this is all the easy part, but as soon as you go multimedia, then it's going to be a bit more tricky. But we are going to approach these one after one. Okay, who is still with us? Stop sharing. Who do we have?
Is there any questions from on YouTube or in Zoom?
Then I think we have Nathan. Are you with us?
I am.
Would you be up talking to us?
Yeah, very quick. Very quick. I'm still in my COVID retreat. So yeah, I will be quick. Three things. First of all, I wanted to give an update regarding Fuse, because nobody heard anything about it since a while. The project is not dead. Actually, it's quite alive. So the main thing that is happening under the hood is that we are rewriting the core in order to align with shader effects. So there will be just one interface. And yeah, we're getting rid of this duality of the GPU value and shader effects. So finally, the user will be exposed to a much simpler ecosystem of nodes to operate with the GPU. And that's a big thing also for maintenance, because at that point also Tebjan will be able to participate a bit more and help in maintaining certain parts of it, I guess. So that's really cool. It's almost done. The other really cool thing is we have a new contributor, a big fish, I would say. This Japanese guy, Torinos, who started to work on the library a couple of months ago, I think. And he basically implemented a lot of features to render splines, lines. It's quite complete, yeah, I would say complete, that part of the library. So it's already available in the development branch. I think we will release a nugget very soon, just yeah, to provide these features to everybody. So yeah, the next month also will be we'll see many new development coming into the library. This first part of the year we were so busy with projects, but now everything will come back to library development, hopefully. So this is Fuse related. Then another little thing is that I'm together with Alex from Mbox. We are implementing, we're porting basically this library to control the ZED Cam. I don't know if you know the device. It's a stereo camera, not just a camera. It's a device that comes with a lot of sensors, accelerometers, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff inside. But mainly has a good API, a really good API, and they just implemented a new machine learning depth estimation, which works quite nicely. I can also show something maybe. Screen, you see my screen? So basically, well, now it's too dark outside, I think. Yeah, you might see myself, but I will turn the camera. This is a raw version of the point cloud. Again, this is considered that there's no light at the moment. So it's a miracle that we see something, but let me just turn a bit. Maybe inside is better. Yeah, it's a bit better, more light. And I tried this sensor like 2 years ago, and I had to return it because the point cloud quality wasn't good enough, the depth. Now I'm really surprised, and I think that machine learning is the way to go. It's quite good. And the cool thing about this device is that you get depth information up to more than 20 meters away. So it's quite good. Also, one thing that I just noticed now, I was opening this patch, is that, do you see, if I rotate the camera, the point cloud is correctly aligned to the world. So basically, the sensor is already using its own information to estimate the camera position or orientation. I didn't spend much time on this one. Alex did most of it. I'm implementing the player because you can record and play back all these these files. So it's really promising. I think it's really good. It seems like a simple device, and it's just a stereo camera, but it feels very good how they are developing the software behind. So compared to Azure Kinect, which is it's a dead project, as we know. Nobody's developing anything anymore since years, and it's a pity, but it's no go, basically. So this device also tracks 3D skeletons in this big area, like at 30 meters, and does object detection, tracking. It's really, really cool. I would suggest, if you don't know it, just go on the Stereolab website, and you see that it's quite advanced. The level of features that they have, it's really cool. So I'm implementing this. And it will be available soon as a nugget. This is one thing, and the last thing, guess what? It's a running joke. It's Kairos, basically. I have to say that I know that I always say that it's done. And it's still not done, I would say, this time. But so I wanted just to give an update. So the development of Kairos basically stopped 1 year ago when I released the nugget, basically, and that I used also for the workshop. And that was the latest prototype that I did back then. Which is the one that already got used in big projects, by the way. Yeah, this super beautiful project by Schnelle the Builder in the museum. They were using Kairos to control, to playback media, like videos, and control many aspects of installation. So it proved to be a cool way to control things. I wasn't happy about the reason I stopped, because first of all, UI, I developed Elementor just to sketch something, but I'm not a fan of Elementor, and I didn't want to continue trying to make a UI with it, because I don't know, I don't feel good with it. But mainly my reason was that Kairos, the Nugget version is a good prototype for certain principles, but the implementation of it was quite complex. And what I want to do is make a project that many people can join and contribute to. So it needs to be clear, first of all, conceptually, and also on the implementation side, it needs to be clear so that people can understand and can participate and expand. Because that's it. That's the key of Kairos. Kairos is not a timeline, as we all know at this point. It is more understanding how to control everything in any way possible. So it's very generic as a purpose. No, so it needs to be clear and defined at the root. Otherwise, it can't expand nicely. And I think, I finally managed to clear up things in a nice way. And turned out that Kairos is made up out of 3 different libraries that are kind of orthogonal to each other. There's lerfx, which you probably already know. It's just a library to deal with values and interpolate between values, blend them, compose them. So it's mainly oriented to values, and that's the whole purpose of it. And then I created this new library. You can already find it online. It's called layerx, which basically introduces this other concept that is very relevant in Kairos. So it's the way things get composed on top of each other, on top of a background. So, and then there is a third library that I'm developing now that basically wrap these other 2 into this multi-parameter framework. So, but it's very, very simple and neat now. The implementation of all these aspects. I'm very happy, and also was waiting for some news about UIs, how to build editor UIs, no? UI editors, and that's exactly what I was waiting for. Now this Ingui, I think it's a very good candidate to make, to build controllers and editors for this kind of softwares. So now it was just to give an update, really. But my goal is to present, to have another session like the one that we did for Fuse a couple of years ago. My scope, my idea is to collect, to start a campaign and say, okay, this is what we have. Most of the work is done regarding the architecture and everything. Now we just need to build a UI and build on top and expand. Because what I'm talking about, as I said, is not about timeline. I really thought this system for years in order to be able to just think wide and say, okay, we can make a timeline, a compositor, a state machine, a matrix, sequencer, preset launcher. They all work in the same way under the hood. Okay, and if we find the right, elegant, simple principles to allow them to intercommunicate, to be used together, then we have an ecosystem that is rich, powerful, and can grow so far. So I would say this, for example, this is funny. It's a compositor to the, which means that I'm placing some values into some 2D shapes, and I'm sampling these values. It's just one of the infinite possibilities to manage data, but still using the same ecosystem and the same principles. But as I said, the last months I focused mainly on polishing the principles and the implementation of things, so that now people can really easily understand and jump into the development. So I guess I will have another session very soon where I talk about the library concept, the roadmap, and then start a campaign to collect fundings to finance something that is really achievable now, and it's not far away. We see that the power of Ingui. So I think that I really hope to have something. Depends on how much we collect also, but by the end of the year, I really hope to have an ecosystem of controllers like timeline and matrices and preset launchers, and so that we can really get serious and finally take control over our patches and devices and whatever we want to control.
That's all?
Yeah.
Just to let you know, we're over 10 minutes.
I'm done. I'm done.
To make a period, but
I'm done. I can't do much more than this.
thank you.
You will see. I'll let you know when I have the presentation ready, because I think it's a turning point. I'm finally happy, and I can say that after 5 years. As you guys can ask also Sebastian and Elias. They are happy as well, finally. So.
And do we have any quick questions to the 3 things we heard about? ZED camera. What was the other? Kairos and
Fuse
update.
Any quick questions?
A very quick question. You can sync several ZED cameras, I guess.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
It's working there, and I think it's also working in the VL thing then.
I think you can. The cool thing is that you can also stream them. The API also gives you some nodes to stream them via network. So yeah. It's really cool. It's really cool. And the nodes are there. I just need to still wrap the functionalities, but it seems neat and well documented. So yeah.
Cool.
Dottore has a question. Hey, Dottore.
Dottore.
Hello.
Man.
I wanted to present, but all of my shit broke down, so it's not working. Anyways, the recorder that you mentioned, it's specific to the ZED camera, or you could use it for any point cloud?
I think it just recorded SVO, which is a sort of video format, rich video format. I think, I'm not sure. So it doesn't record the point cloud; it records really the source, and then you can play back and generate the point cloud again.
So that's only if the point cloud is generated on the device. It's not like for the Kinect V2, let's say, that just gives you the point cloud.
No. Nothing gets generated on the device. Everything is computed by the GPU on the fly.
On the ZED.
Yeah. Camera. No. I mean, the ZED camera doesn't do anything. It just streams a video.
That's what I mean. But let's say the old Kinect, like the V2 before the Azure, it kind of did stuff like on the hardware. So
no.
Right. So it's like recording all the input data, and then basically you do the processing, all of that again, and you can adjust it. Nice. All right.
The cool thing is that you can, like for the Azure Kinect, you can stream, you can play back multiple files, no? So you can instantiate devices. So there's no limit in that. Yeah, computationally wise, there's a limit, obviously. NISCO. But at that point, I'm interested also in finding ways to record the point cloud data, like the depth map already. Could be a good thing, but it doesn't come with. I mean, there are functionalities to store, to save all the images and depth as well in any format you want. So maybe we could use those functionality and wrap them in a way to have a sort of like a recorder for the depth. But why not? Could be.
Cool. Great work in any case. Like, looks really good.
Dottore, why we have here? You wanted to present something, but all your shit broke down.
Exactly. Well, so I will show you what computer I'm using now. Kind of like I got it as like just I don't like a side thing. I wanted to test it out, but it actually like kind of is becoming like my main computer. So it's like it kind of looks like a Steam Deck, but it's not a Steam Deck, and it runs Windows, so it actually runs vvvv, and it has like mouse emulation, so you can actually patch with the gamepad. It's an interesting experience, and yeah, I'm connecting it to this like eGPU, which didn't work. Now it works. I had to reinstall a couple things, but the Bluetooth broke down, so I don't have like input. And basically I'm working on like kind of multiple projects just on the side. One of them is that I'm doing a lot of like music lately and stuff, and I kind of want to stream sometimes and have some interesting visuals that go with it. And basically with vvvv, it's very simple to bring in like a point cloud from Kinect. And then I also I'm bringing like a couple cameras in and kind of selecting specific parts of the image. So let's say if I have like an MPC or like a piano, then I can kind of just take the specific part, convert it into like a flat texture when it comes from the camera, and then basically place it in the scene in like the right position in the point cloud. So you have the point cloud, but you also have this like texture inside that actually tells you exactly what is happening on this instrument. And it's obviously possible to like take multiple camera feeds, just place the textures kind of around if there's like more stuff happening, and
Okay.
possible.
You hear?
Yeah. Yes.
Now explaining to us what you're showing us next time.
Kind of. That's the
Then I think we rather wait for next time.
All right.
When we see the actual thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Because I don't know, we have 2 more presentations. Tebjan blinked up there briefly as something, and then we have Elias here. So, and Rose also again, or what? No.
Yeah, I just quickly made another project.
Just saying hi to
No,
me.
I wanted to say hi to Tebjan and
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe Tebjan first.
Yeah, I only have 2 announcements and one little nice thing I want to show that I personally find very cool. Can I share the screen? Probably no, not this one. This one. Yeah. All right. Do you see a patch?
Yeah.
Good. So this is a little announcement, something that was made by Björn. So I'm doing the announcement on his behalf. He basically ported the old VV beta Ableton Link connection to VL. And for those who don't know what it is basically a synchronization protocol over network that can synchronize it's not right. 2 clocks on computers, basically used for music, but you can also, of course, use it for visuals. So here you can see if I play something here, that this is actually in the beat, so it just synchronizes, and then from VV you can also stop Ableton or play Ableton and change the tempo. Yeah, so that's a very neat thing. It's available right now on Nugget, was just uploaded 2 hours ago. You can use it right away.
Thanks, Björn.
Say again?
Thanks, Björn.
Yeah, thanks, Björn. And here on Ableton Link, you can see there are many softwares and devices that support this protocol. It's really cool. It's nice to have that in like a multimedia ecosystem. So that was the one announcement, and I'm going to close that instance. The next announcement is connected to Fuse, so what Nathan said before. And it's a thing I made. Oh, I don't need Ableton anymore. About 2 weeks ago, and I've released it on just showed some pictures on Twitter. And since then, like, people write me regularly, oh, when is it available? When can we have it? And the thing was, I wasn't doing it like on my own at home, but the work was commissioned. But the studio who commissioned it is like an architecture studio from Switzerland. And they said, okay, we can add it to Fuse. So everyone who wants to have it will have it in Fuse very soon. I'll make a pull request maybe tonight or tomorrow. And then, of course, it has to be accepted. And what it is, for those who haven't seen it, I'm going to explain it very briefly, very shortly, what it does. So you've seen Rhino before, if you were in a meeting. And Rhino has like this model, these curves, they're NURBS. So they're very mathematical and they're hard to put into a mesh. So a mesh is something that your GPU can render. And then there's another thing called signed distance fields. And they're even more extreme in that regard. So they're just a very simple mathematical description, but that's all there is. So there's nothing for the GPU to like grab or to render. And so what you usually do is, if you want to render these functions, you will do ray marching. That will just tests every pixel, is this function there? And so on. And that's what Fuse is doing very well. If I start the patch here and compiles the shaders, I think. Maybe I have to, yeah. I have to wait a second. So these are signed distance fields in Fuse. And this is the result here. And now the question is, if you want to bring such a mathematical thing that here is only, what you here see, it's not a 3D geometry, it is only like an image of this function that you see. But if you want to have it physically, so if you want to like extract this function from the abstract world of mathematics into something that you have like as data points that you can send to a 3D printer or you send it to some manufacturing device, then you need to kind of find out where in space the function actually is. And there are, of course, techniques in like computer science how to do that. And there is one that's called dual contouring, which is very good. It's like the second best. It's not the best. It's the second best algorithm to do that. And I have implemented that on the GPU. And it looks like that. So what it does, it basically looks where in space this function is and puts a point there. So if I disable that, you see kind of you see these very regular squares here. And all those squares are basically little cubes in space. In this instance, it's 129 per dimension. And this big cube around it is basically the bounding box. And in that space, this algorithm searches for the surface of this function. So that's a very cool thing, because if you have that, you can extract the mesh, you get the data points, and then you can basically transform this abstract function into something tangible, something real, if you want to do that. And that's the second announcement. So this will be available. So this help patch will be available in Fuse in the next days if you have the development versions, and for sure in the next Fuse release. And there's one thing connected to it now. Is like the third part of my little demo. If you use this algorithm, we can also see the output. This is the mesh that's generated. So from this function, so this is the function, the white one. This helper is what's got extracted, and this black one is the final result, like a mesh. You can see it has some imperfections. I don't know if you can see it here. To get this the quality very high, you have to like get this box that is around it here as close as possible to the surface. If it's too close, you see it will be incomplete. And if you make it bigger, you kind of waste computational power. And now I was looking for a way to automatically find the bounding box of this function. And what's behind that, I want to explain a little bit because I think it's really cool. So what you can do now is with this node, you connect your function here, your sign distance field, and it tries to like catch the function or the dimension of this function and to give you like an optimal bounding box around this thing. So let me just connect it. So if I connect this here, everything should be gone because it's 0, size is 0. And then we also have a center that goes here. And now if I click start and everything goes well, we should see bounding box appear that like something happens. Yeah, it comes closer and closer to the sign distance field. And after 10 seconds, it stops and kind of catches this function in the box. And it's really cool what's behind that. The first thing, so I'm going to open this patch and show you what it is. The first thing, so the first step to get this box is you start a particle system that's very far away. And then you basically, because this function here, this one is defined everywhere in space, basically. Everywhere in space, this function has a value, and only at the surface, the value is 0. But everywhere, you can know whether you're far away or, and in the next step, whether you're closer to the function. So this uses that property of this function to create basically a particle system that starts very far away. And in that case, you can say the radius is like 10 meters away. And then those particles, they come, then they get closer and closer to the function. And when they're there, they basically stop. So that's if you go into the particle system, that's the normal fuse particle system. Then you use this conform to SDF, which basically moves particles towards the surface. So that's that thing. And then the second thing is like finding the minimum value and the maximum value of the particle system. And that's actually like one of the nicest tricks I've seen for every graphics programming nerd. This is a thing for life you can learn now. We need that later. So we have this particle system. There are all these particles, and those particles move closer and closer to the surface. And now we want to find out, like of all particles, what's their minimum in all dimensions and their maximum in all dimensions. And this is for shaders or for the GPU. It's a very hard problem because if you write a compute shader or a pixel shader, they absolutely hate it if you like want to accumulate a value. Basically, if one value, in that case the maximum and the minimum, depends on like the neighbors, or in that case, it's the worst case, it depends on all particles that are in this particle system. But there's one unit in your graphics card that can do that very well, and that's actually the blend function. So if you draw geometries on top of each other, there's a function that blends colors together, and you can set the function that you want, how to blend them, and that's inside here. There's this blend state. And if you set blend state minimum and maximum, what you get if 2 pixels or 2 objects draw on top of each other, you get either just the minimum of all color channels or the maximum of all color channels. And now the trick is to render all particles with like a camera that's it's very wide, basically sees the whole space. Render all particles into a texture that is just 2 pixels wide. And the first one will be like the blend function min, and the second pixel will be the blend function max. So all particles just draw their position in space, and the blend functions of your GPU will automatically calculate the minimum and the maximum value. And then you just read 2 pixels back from the GPU, then you get a bounding box. So if I click start again, we should hopefully see this, yeah. So this is the this 2 pixel texture with 2 cameras, one from one side, one from the other. And every particle will just draw its position into the color, and the blend function will do the min and the max. And that's how you get the bounding box calculated on the GPU extremely quickly. So whenever you need that, there you have it. Yeah, so this little node will also be in Fuse. Yeah, that was it. I hope it was under 10 minutes. And
that was, you already got Björn's 10 minutes on top.
All right, okay, good. Sorry for that. Yeah, that's it. So the 2 things will be available, and this little find bounding box will be there too.
Wow.
Thanks.
Very nice.
Any quick questions, comments, thoughts, prayers?
Is it how well is it working with things that are not like rectangular like this? And so it's using some voxels and things like how is the algorithm managing with more organic shapes?
You mean the find the mesh bound?
Yes.
It's pretty good because on those fine details, so this dual contouring algorithm is very good. On those fine details, you see the mesh isn't so regular anymore. I don't know if with the compression you can see it. It kind of tries to like find the arrows and move closer toward the surface. So it's pretty good. So it's like I said, it's like the second best algorithm that exists. The best one. Unfortunately, there's no real GPU implementation out there. So yeah, thanks for listening.
Exporting?
Thanks, super nice.
Or something?
Say again?
Export to OBJ or to some 3D file format? That's already said.
Back to Rhino.
No, not back to
Rhino. Yeah, definitely. That's the point of the
whatever. OBJ, for example.
I think we have an OBJ writer.
Yeah, it's already there. From mesh.
Didn't I do that?
Yeah, if you have the mesh, you can read it back to the CPU and then store it on disk and then send it to Rhino and print it. That was also why it was commissioned. So it was to like build shapes with SDFs because they're quite organic. You can make very beautiful looking things very easily. But then the hard thing is to get them into a 3D printer or send them to a construction company to build it.
OBJ writer is there.
It is already there. Okay, I hope.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye-bye.
What was that?
I said bye-bye. Thank you.
Stay with us. We have one more demonstration by Elias.
I'm very excited to hear that one.
It's not really a
final presentation.
That's really good. It should be under a minute if everything goes well.
Shorter needs are better.
But I need to do that function.
Start the time. Just
no. Bildschirm freigeben. Okay. So I was the last, I don't know, couple of weeks, I would say maybe. I was working on the startup time of vvvv, and so the demo is very quick. I have basically here the I should be. In the left, I have like a recent table you can download. And here to the right, I have a new.
Okay.
One is I'm working on that. So I will first start the left foot. It should start, so I move it a little bit to the left. Come on. It's fine. I'll start the right one. New one. Hi. Yeah, it's moving. Oh, sorry. That's the whole thing. As you can see,
Wait, what is it now?
but I'm already here. We can already open the. You can also go already to the, open some Elementor patch, getting started. You see the left one is still loading. And here I'm already in the patch and already do stuff,
That's super helpful if it crashes.
And the left one is still loading. But you're really loading very long now.
You can close the right one already and have a beer.
I could go for a beer and start it again. Yeah, I could crash it and start it again.
But what did you do?
So what did I do? No, I don't know. Since a couple of time, right, we are compiling to C# internally already, and then we are loading binary code. So the left one is now up. No, that was again the second one. This is the heavy accident. Here you can see that this was the previous version, and this is the kind of what you can expect in the new branch. Like, so in this case, I measured it at home. The left one started in about 40 seconds, and the new version here started in 6 seconds. So a lot. And I think when you read, when you crash, it's a lot. And also what I didn't mention yet is if I open now I just started in both of them, and if you look at the memory usage here, for example, we see that it's quite a big of a difference already. So the new one is down to 350 megabytes, while the one has already 800. And that also makes a lot of a difference when you then run patches, which consume, they allocate resources and they allocate memory. Then the garbage collection kicks in at some point. So this will make a big difference on the amount of how the garbage collection, how fast it is. And it will be much quicker because there are much less, far less objects in memory. So yeah, so how does it work? It's basically compiling. So I could show you how it will work the first time, but I mean, that's still something I'm working on. The idea is that we can compile the packages already at this hour on the build server. So it will always be the startup time like this. But if I open a package the first time with some contribution, then it will basically have the load time from previous versions. But it will then build that DLL and encode everything in there and then load that DLL.
Okay, so it's pre-compiled.
It's pre-compiled and it's currently putting it in some temporary folder, but you will see it.
You compile just once each.
That's the idea, that because NuGet packages are read-only, they are just there, and of course I can compile them once.
Do you use the same DLLs when exporting?
When exporting, when we export, we do a different thing anyways. There we basically generate a complete, we write the whole C# code out, and then let the normal build system go over it, because then you get all these details of what runtime and whatnot, and all this. The build system needs to figure out.
You start from scratch.
I start from scratch because yeah.
Bravo. Presentation.
So
I did that for the demo. No, I could show you, like I said, if I
Björn was asking where's the precompiled folder?
Currently I have it under some temporary directory here. I need to I don't know, update, how it goes. local temp, and currently I have it here, so I could delete it all.
Yeah, I think Björn just wants to delete it quickly to not clutter his hard drive.
So here you see that they are
Organizing.
and here you also see Elementor here. Right?
So if you delete this, then you have to also.
Exactly. If I would, for example, now delete all this, then I would get the whole startup time the first time.
The first time, not just the first.
But then we see here the packages popping up. So if I open now another package that the system never saw before, it will. For now, it will put it there.
And if you load,
maybe the better idea would be to put it into the package. I don't know yet. No. But that works as well.
Cool. Is there any more somewhere?
Yes, Andres wanted to ask something to tebjan, so maybe they can.
Andres?
Yeah, but I think I'm the wrong person to ask. I mean, yeah, just maybe ask the question into the.
Can we? Let's finish.
No, I'm finished.
No, Elias is finished. So stop sharing, and we bring on Andres. Andres, can we? Yeah. Can't talk. Sorry. At office.
Okay, I can repeat his question. He was asking, can we have an update on VR? Specifically, I don't know whether he was looking into GitHub, specifically OpenXR, he asked.
Yeah, so I briefly wrote it in the last month review that we
he put more in the chat. The question is like also Quest 2 and Stride.
Quest 2 is working.
With Link or you cannot compile directly on the Quest, right? You cannot create an Android application.
True. Yes. No.
Yeah.
You have to run it on Windows. Use the Link cable. We're not building.
Or Wi-Fi. Yeah.
That was the question, maybe.
Okay. Go.
Yes.
That was.
Yeah, like the Quest 2 basically, but like if it's running in the PC VR mode, it works just like any other like PC VR headset. So like vvvv doesn't really care if it's a Quest 2 or it's a Vive or it's whatever.
Yeah.
Right, and it's gonna work. It's just a bit annoying setup sometimes. The Link, like I don't know, sometimes it doesn't work, but most of the time it does. And VR in Stride is like it works well. You kind of add the node at the like VR settings, and it just works. So that's cool. I did have some issues though. I think mainly like changing. Right, when I changed something in the code and it's recompiled, it stopped tracking the camera movement. So I had to keep restarting vvvv all the time, which kind of was like losing the point of the like just in time, like all the hot reload and that.
Okay, interesting. I haven't come across that, but
is that answering Andres' question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was lucky. He was happy already. Yeah, with these issues, obviously, dottore, you know how it works.
Yeah, put it in the forum, put it in the chat. The forum is probably better for like long-term stuff. Right?
Yeah. So that was it from the chat, or Maxime, was there any more?
No.
Nothing more. Nothing more from the audience here. Then I think we can conclude. Final words, David?
No, I have no final words. Thank you for joining in. Amazing to be in a room with all of you guys here in Berlin, and I think the format works quite well. Like it is,
we should do it
super
again.
natural. Yeah, let's get some. I mean, if you guys have feedback on how this feels remotely, just drop it in the Element chat or somewhere. Would be interesting what you guys think about it. Okay.
Thank you, Maxime. There backstage operating everything here.
And
Good night.
All in,
See you soon.
all in the night.
Woo!
Bye.
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 Thank you. It's great to see you all.
Bye.
Afterward.